All right, Warriors fans, we need to talk. Because what happened last night can't just be brushed off as a bad night or a lucky win for the other team. No, this one stings. The Golden State Warriors, a team that prides itself on discipline, chemistry, and championship DNA, just dropped a game they had no business losing. And not just against any opponent. They lost to the Milwaukee Bucks without Giannis Antetokounmpo. The guy wasn't even dressed out, sitting there in street clothes, and somehow Milwaukee still ran circles around Golden State. That's not just a loss. That's a wake-up call. Look, we're only 6 games into the season, and yeah, it's early. You can take one bad loss and chalk it up to fatigue, travel, or even bad luck. But when you drop a game to a Bucks team missing their best player, and you let a guy like Ryan Rollins, yes, Ryan Rollins, go off for 32 points, you can't ignore that. And to make it worse, he's a former Warrior. This guy averaged barely 2 points per game when he was in Golden State, bounced around the league, and suddenly looks like an all-star the moment he faces his old team. That's the kind of thing that eats at your pride. What's going on with the Dubs right now feels like a mix of frustration and identity crisis. They still have the talent. Steph Curry is playing great basketball. Klay is finding his rhythm again, and Draymond is finally healthy. But there's something off. The size issue that haunted them last season hasn't gone away. Milwaukee's front court, Bobby Portis and Miles Turner, absolutely bullied them in the paint. It's the same story on repeat. Golden State trying to play small ball against teams with serious size and getting punished for it. You can't expect Al Horford and Quentin Post to handle those kinds of assignments every night, and throwing in Trace Jackson-Davis here, and there isn't a long-term fix either. And yet, amid all the mess, there are bright spots. One of them is Will Richard. I've got to admit, I wasn't totally sold on him when the Warriors drafted him late in the second round. But the kid is proving me wrong game after game. He's got that hunger. Came from a smaller D1 program, transferred to Florida, helped them win a national title, and now he's carving out a real role in the NBA. You can see the work ethic, the confidence, and the way he's starting to push some veterans for playing time. That's what this team needs. Energy, pressure, and players fighting for every minute. Because right now, the Warriors roster feels crowded. Too many guards, too many wings who kind of do the same thing. Buddy Hield and Moses Moody, both solid players, but both starting to look expendable. Buddy is still that reliable three-point shooter. But when you already have Steph Curry and soon Seth Curry coming back, how much value does another catch-and-shoot specialist really bring? Especially one on a big contract. And then there's Moody. I like his game. He's smart, he defends, he hustles. But Will Richard and Brandon Podziemski are coming. They're developing fast, and they're making those same plays at a fraction of the cost. The truth is, Moody might become one of those guys who's more valuable as a trade asset than in the rotation. Speaking of trades, January 15th is a big date circled on the calendar. That's when Jonathan Kuminga becomes eligible to be traded. Now, before anyone freaks out, I don't think the Warriors are planning to move him. The guy is finally putting it all together. 24 points, 8 rebounds for assists last night, and shooting over 60% from the field? Come on, that's impressive. He's making everyone who doubted him eat their words. He's finally playing with confidence, attacking the rim, and using his athleticism the way we've been waiting to see since he was drafted. He's not going anywhere. But even if Kuminga stays, the Warriors have to address the one glaring hole on this team: size. They need a real big man, someone who can hold his own inside, grab boards, protect the rim, and just bring some physicality. James Wiseman's name keeps floating around, and you can't help but wonder, is it time for him to come home? He never really got a fair shot his first time around. The timing, the injuries, the pressure, it all just piled up. But he's still young, still talented, and maybe now, with more experience, he could give the Warriors exactly what they're missing. If not Wiseman, then who? One name that keeps coming up is Nikola Vucevic. Yeah, that's right, the Bulls' big man. Chicago's off to a hot start this season, so they might not be eager to make moves just yet, but you never know how things will look a month from now. Vucevic is on an expiring deal. He's averaging close to 18 points and 10 rebounds, and he can stretch the floor. Imagine pairing that with Curry and Klay spacing the perimeter. It opens up everything. Sure, he's not elite defensively, but his passing and rebounding would be a massive upgrade. And if you could move Buddy Hield and Moody for him, that's a deal that makes sense for both sides. The Bulls get some solid rotation players with flexible contracts, and the Warriors finally get the interior presence they've been begging for since Kevin Looney started wearing down. Now, let's talk about the Bulls for a second. They've started strong. 4 wins, no losses, and that definitely boosts Vucevic's trade value. But we've seen this story before. Chicago gets off to a nice start, looks promising for a few weeks, then reality sets in. If that happens again, the Warriors should be ready to pounce. Because a guy like Vucevic could completely change the dynamic of this team. With his ability to draw defenders out of the paint, you'd give Kuminga, Draymond, and even Steph more room to attack. And speaking of Steph, I love what he's been doing lately. Yeah, he's still dropping those long-range bombs, but you can tell he's making a conscious effort to get to the basket more. He's reading defenses differently, keeping them honest, and forcing opponents to respect every inch of the floor. That's the version of Steph you want. Unpredictable, aggressive, and relentless. But the one thing the Warriors can't afford to do right now is lose games against teams missing their stars. They already dropped one to Portland without any big names. Now Milwaukee without Giannis. And next up, Indiana without Tyrese Halliburton. These are the games you have to dominate if you want to call yourself a contender. It's not even about style points. It's about sending a message. The Warriors are fully healthy. No excuses. They should go into Indiana and control that game from start to finish. No sloppy turnovers, no second chance points, no lazy defense. Just a statement win that says, we're still the Warriors. We're still here. Because after Indiana, things don't get any easier. They've got 2 straight matchups against the San Antonio Spurs. And let me tell you, the Spurs are no joke this year. Victor Wembanyama is not just hype. He's the real deal. That kid is already changing the way teams defend. San Antonio has started 5-0 for the first time in franchise history, and they look hungry. Everyone's been talking about the Rockets and Thunder being the next big threats in the West, but honestly, it's the Spurs who scare me the most. They're long, athletic, disciplined, and they play like they have nothing to lose. And that makes them dangerous. So for Golden State, this stretch coming up is crucial. They've got to tighten up their rotations, fix their rebounding issues, and figure out what to do with these overlapping guards. The pieces are there, but the chemistry and effort need to match the talent. This team has too much experience, too much pride, to keep losing games they should win. It's time to see some real Warriors basketball again, the kind that reminds everyone why they're still one of the most respected franchises in the league. One thing that's become crystal clear this season is that the Golden State Warriors are walking a fine line between experience and evolution. The veterans who built this dynasty are still here, still giving everything they've got, but the young guys are starting to demand their place. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the natural cycle of a team trying to bridge 2 eras. But it's also a dangerous balance to manage, because if Steve Kerr doesn't find the right mix soon, this season could slip away before they even hit the halfway mark. You can feel that tension every time the Warriors hit the floor. Draymond is still barking out defensive calls. Steph is still hitting impossible shots. Klay is still trying to prove he's got more left in the tank. But behind them, you've got hungry players like Kuminga, Podziemski, and Will Richard waiting for bigger roles. The energy from the bench is different this year. More aggressive, more competitive. And honestly, that's exactly what this team has been missing. When the Dubs were at their peak, it wasn't just about the Splash Brothers or Draymond's defense. It was about the entire roster buying into the system, trusting each other, and playing with pace and purpose. That's what made them unstoppable. The challenge now is that the league has evolved. The small ball magic that once shocked everyone is no longer new. Teams know how to defend it, how to exploit its weaknesses. And the biggest weakness has always been size. The Warriors have been trying to dance around that problem for years. They found ways to make it work when they had prime Draymond playing as a small ball 5, but now those lineups don't hold up like they used to. Opponents are too athletic, too skilled, too smart. You can't expect Draymond to battle 7-footers every night and stay healthy through 82 games. That's why adding a real interior presence, someone like Nikola Vucevic, or even a returning James Wiseman, could completely reshape the team's identity. But it's not just about getting a big guy. It's about finding someone who fits the Warriors system. You can't just plug in a random 7-footer and hope it works. The Warriors' offense is built on movement, spacing, and quick decisions. A guy like Vucevic fits that mold because he can pass, hit the mid-range jumper, and stretch the floor when needed. If you drop him into that second unit alongside Kuminga and Podziemski, you suddenly have balance, shooters, slashers, and a steady inside presence. That's the kind of lineup that could keep momentum going even when Steph sits. Now, speaking of Podziemski, his development might be one of the most interesting storylines this season. The team just picked up his option, which was absolutely the right call. He's still raw, still figuring out the speed of the game, but his instincts are special. You can tell he sees the floor differently. His rebounding from the guard position, his hustle plays, the way he reads passing lanes. He's not putting up huge scoring numbers yet, but that's not what makes him valuable. What he needs to work on are his assists. Once he starts creating more plays for others, he's going to be a nightmare for defenses. He's got that grit and confidence that reminds you of a young Draymond mixed with a bit of Andre Iguodala's intelligence. The Warriors don't need him to be the next Steph Curry right now. They just need him to keep growing into that role player who does all the little things that lead to wins. And that's the thing. This team has always been about the details. The crisp passes, the rotations, the off-ball movement. But lately, those details have been sloppy. You can see possessions where players are out of sync, guys standing still while the ball sticks. That's not Warriors basketball. The pace has to return. When the ball moves, when everyone is cutting and screening with purpose, the defense can't keep up. But when they slow down and play isolation ball, they lose what makes them special. The veterans know this, but the younger players are still learning. That's where leadership becomes key. Draymond's return brought an instant boost to the defense, but it also brought back that fiery energy that sometimes gets out of control. The Warriors need his intensity, but they also need his discipline. There's no room for technicals and ejections when every game counts. The West is too deep this season. You got the Nuggets still dominant, the Spurs on a rise, the Kings improving, and the Lakers hanging around. Every night is a battle. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. In what's quickly becoming the talk of the NBA world, a wave of controversy erupted this week after LeBron James reportedly threw some serious shade at the Golden State Warriors ahead of their highly anticipated matchup. According to sources close to the Lakers' locker room, the King didn't mince words, allegedly telling teammates and staff they don't have a chance. The remark, bold even by LeBron standards, has set social media ablaze and reignited one of basketball's most intense rivalries of the past decade. Fans and analysts have been dissecting every syllable since the comment surfaced. Some say it's classic LeBron mind games, a veteran's tactic to rattle a once-feared opponent that's no longer quite the powerhouse it used to be. Others think it's pure confidence, a statement of dominance from a player who's been defying time, expectations, and logic for over 2 decades. Either way, it's impossible to ignore the tension brewing between Los Angeles and the Bay Area. The Warriors, meanwhile, have kept their responses muted, at least publicly. Stephen Curry brushed off the buzz with a smirk when asked about LeBron's jab, saying, "We'll see what happens on the court." Yet behind closed doors, insiders suggest the comment didn't sit well with Golden State's veterans. Draymond Green, known for his fiery personality, reportedly took it personally, promising to remind everyone who started this rivalry. The timing of LeBron's alleged statement couldn't be more dramatic. The Lakers have been riding a modest win streak, while the Warriors have struggled to find consistency. Still, when these two teams collide, history suggests that records and standings don't matter. Pride does. Whether LeBron's comment was genuine bravado or locker room banter blown out of proportion, one thing's certain. The stage is set. The NBA's biggest stars are once again circling each other. The lights are heating up, and the whispers are growing louder. Come game night, the court will do the talking, and everyone will be watching to see if LeBron can back up his words. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.